In 1993, a Canadian lawyer named Gary Hoy claimed to a group of students that the windows in his building were unbreakable. To prove this, he threw himself at the window at full force. While the glass didn't break, the frame popped out and Gary fell 24 stories to his death. The man who once had the longest beard in the world died after he accidentally stepped on it and broke his neck. In 2010, an MI6 agent was found naked and dead inside of a padlocked bag in his London home. Police concluded that he accidentally locked himself in the bag and died as a result. In Houston, Texas, a 19-year-old man named Rashad died while attempting to play Russian roulette. Apparently, he didn't know how the game worked since he tried using a semi-automatic pistol instead of a revolver. In 2020, a sunbathing mom from Georgia was just seconds away from being crushed to death by a falling tree. If her son hadn't told her to run, she most likely would have died instantly. A Texas man was chasing a rattlesnake on his lawn that eventually slithered underneath his old shed. Upon investigating with a forklift, he discovered that it was completely infested with dozens of rattlesnakes. And finally, this is why you should always check the toilet bowl before plopping down on the seat. Yep, that's a scorpion. And apparently you shouldn't flush a scorpion down the toilet since they could survive in water for like 2 days. Have fun. In 2013, a young Japanese man began slithering on his parents' floor and acting erratically, claiming he had become a snake. His father then spent the next 2 days violently headbutting and biting him to, quote, drive out the snake that had possessed him. The man eventually died from blunt force trauma. In 2017, Minnesota woman Mona Lisa Perez killed her boyfriend by shooting him in the chest through an encyclopedia at point-blank range. Apparently, they were trying to make a viral YouTube video and didn't expect the bullet to penetrate the book. Just last month, an AI chatbot convinced a Belgian man to take his own life. Concerned about climate change, he apparently mentioned the idea of sacrificing himself so that the AI bot could save the Earth. Instead of dissuading him, the bot encouraged him to act on his dark thoughts so they could, quote, live together as one person in paradise. The most valuable tooth in the world belonged to Sir Isaac Newton, who died nearly 300 years ago. In 1816, it sold for $3,600, which equates to more than $75,000 today. After fears that they were wiped out by bushfires, the rare pygmy possum was thankfully rediscovered in 2020. Located in various museums, these are the only 3 authentic Jolly Roger flags in the world. They were flown to identify pirate ships before or during attacks in the early 18th century. Spotted Lake in Canada features distinctive patterns due to its high concentrations of various minerals. The Formosan clouded leopard was declared legally extinct in 2013 after having no sightings since 1983. But in 2019, it was spotted for the first time in nearly 40 years in eastern Taiwan. Known as RH Null, this man has the rarest blood type in the world. It's called the golden blood type since it's only been found in 43 people throughout recorded history. Some animals can be born as bilateral gynandromorphs, meaning they're male on one side and female on the other. This is the pyramid capstone of Amenemhat II, one of the only intact pyramidions in the world. In odd cases, dead organisms are filled in with opal rather than mud or stone, creating these mesmerizing fossils. This cat suffers from myostatin-related hypertrophy, a very rare condition that causes muscles to grow excessively large. This steak is so incredibly rare that it could probably use a few more minutes in the sous vide. This insanely rare polka-dotted zebrafoal was photographed last year in Kenya. There are only 20 stealth bombers in the world, but this one was caught mid-flight in a Google Maps photo. Talk about a photo bomber. Once believed to be aliens, this is one of the many 2,000-year-old elongated skulls that were discovered on Paracas Peninsula in Peru. Cranial elongation was commonly practiced by the Paracas people by tightly wrapping the head in cloth during the first few years of life. These toilets in a medieval castle should make you feel thankful for modern plumbing. After Hurricane Dorian, a woman took a walk along a beach in Virginia and found this incredible collection of prehistoric shark teeth just lying on the sand. An incredible discovery was recently made during renovations at a church in Naples, Italy. Behind a 16th century painting called Life of San Severo, workers found a second hidden painting depicting St. George slaying a dragon. Here's an amazing video of Sandra the orangutan cleaning her enclosure and washing her hands at the Center for Great Apes in Florida. She learned to do this after observing her caretakers do the exact same thing. I don't know what to say. When this deaf man's cat realized that meowing was useless, the cat learned to communicate with him using signs. This clip shows him successfully requesting a treat at the dinner table. The penduline tit has evolved to develop a creative way for preventing snakes from entering its nest. The bird builds a hidden opening while making the visible entrance lead to an empty pocket that tricks the snake. A sheep-herding dog named Casper faced off against 11 threatening coyotes and killed 8 of them on the farm. He then went missing for 2 days, most likely to track the remaining coyotes and finish the job. His vet said he's incredibly lucky to be alive, while his owner agreed to let him retire. During World War II, a German pilot spotted an American pilot's crippled plane in the sky. He noticed that the gunner was dead, the crew was injured, and that they didn't pose any threat. So instead of destroying the plane, he led it to safety and spared the men's lives. 40 years later, the two pilots reunited and became fishing buddies. After TV star Jack Benny died in 1974, his widow Mary received a red rose in the mail. After several days of receiving a new rose each day, she finally called to find out who was sending them. The florist told her that Jack had arranged for a new rose to be sent to her every day until she died. Terry Kath, the original lead singer of the band Chicago, died after accidentally shooting himself in the head. In 1978, he picked up a 9mm pistol and said, "Don't worry about it, look, the clip's not even in it." He held the gun to his head, and before pulling the trigger, his last words were, "What do you think I'm gonna do, blow my brains out?" There was a bullet in the chamber and he died instantly. In 1834, a 13-year-old boy died in San Francisco after a circus clown swung him around by the heels. In 2007, California woman Jennifer Strange entered a radio show contest called Hold Your Wee for a Wee, in which the person who drank the most water over a 4-hour span without urinating would win a Nintendo Wii. But after consuming nearly 2 gallons, Jennifer soon complained of headaches and dizziness before dying a few hours later from water poisoning. In 1991, retired truck driver Terry Horton found a painting at a California thrift shop that she purchased for $5. She thought it was hideous and planned on throwing darts at it until one of her friends suggested getting it checked out. It ended up being a priceless painting by Jackson Pollock worth right around $50 million. In 2015, a man swimming near Huntington Beach, California was suddenly struck in the back by a great white. After making it ashore and going to the hospital, doctors assured him that he'd be fine. But upon seeing his x-rays, they realized he had a cancerous tumor that they were just barely able to remove in time. In 1923, a young jockey named Frank Hayes suffered a heart attack and suddenly died in the middle of a horse race. But his body remained on the saddle throughout the race, and his horse Sweet Kiss crossed the finish line first. This was the first time that Hayes had ever won a race, and the last. A Florida photographer captured this incredible image of an owl that raised a duckling after mistaking the egg for its own. Concerned that the owl would eat the duckling once it realized the situation, a local wildlife sanctuary agreed to take care of the baby bird. This bulb of garlic didn't have separate cloves, it grew as just one solid piece. This rare phenomenon known as ice eggs occurs when ice is rolled over by the perfect combination of wind and water. This rare medium well? Ugh. This is one of the only known video recordings of the golden langur, an extremely rare species of monkey that Himalayan tribes have long considered to be sacred. Researchers say they work extra hard to avoid human contact, making them extremely difficult to observe in the wild. In 1944, the Ghost Army was created as the first tactical deception unit in the U.S. Army. They used inflatable tanks, fake radio traffic, and loudspeakers blaring sound effects to throw off their enemies. The Ghost Army was able to make a force seem 30 times larger than its actual size, often sending the Nazis retreating. A U.S. naval destroyer once won a battle against a Japanese submarine by throwing potatoes at them, which the Japanese thought were grenades and quickly retreated. Ancient Persian leader Cambyses II once used cats to defeat an Egyptian army. Knowing that the Egyptians viewed felines as sacred, he brought hundreds of cats to the front lines and had his soldiers paint them on their shields. The Egyptians simply refused to fight and were easily defeated as a result. When going to battle against enemies riding elephants, the Indian Rajputs would put fake trunks on their horses, making them appear as baby elephants which the enemy's elephants refused to attack. During the Cold War, CIA agents used a secret method of communication based on how their shoelaces were tied. In 1973, the U.S. Army developed an anti-tank grenade by hollowing out a Nerf football and filling it with explosive charges. But the ball never made it to the battlefield since the explosives gave it an unpredictable flight. Many warships used to be painted like optical illusions. The purpose of this dazzle camouflage was not to conceal the ship, but rather to mislead the enemy by making the ship's speed and range more difficult to estimate, much to the same effect as patterns seen on zebras, giraffes, and jaguars. Disney's first water park, called River Country, closed permanently in 2001 after an 11-year-old boy died from a brain-eating parasite he got in the lake. The park still lies completely abandoned to this day. The actor who used to play Gaston at Disney World Orlando accidentally killed himself by attempting to shoot fireworks off his head. Disney World is one of the most popular places on Earth for scattering ashes. It happens so frequently that employees have a special code word to report it for cleanup. A study conducted in 2016 concluded that the Thunder Mountain Railroad reliably helps people pass kidney stones. In 2010, a restaurant manager at Disneyland Paris took his own life after working a shift. Before doing so, he left a note on the wall that translated to, "I don't want to go back to Mickey ever again." While filming a scene from The Mummy during which his character was being hanged, Brendan Fraser nearly died. The rope was tied too tightly around the actor's neck, and Brendan quickly passed out when it constricted his carotid artery. If the film crew hadn't acted quickly, he likely would have died within minutes. Owen Wilson was originally casted as Tug Speedman's agent in Tropic Thunder, but he had to be replaced by Matthew McConaughey after attempting suicide in 2007. Margaret Hamilton, the woman who played the Wicked Witch of the West, was badly burned while filming The Wizard of Oz. She returned after a stay at the hospital, but refused to do any more scenes involving fire. So her stunt double took her place in one scene where she rode a prop that ended up spewing smoke and exploding, sending her to the hospital for 11 days and nearly costing her a leg. In June of 2021, a massive 1,174-carat diamond was discovered by miners in Botswana. It's the third largest diamond ever found and can likely fetch more than $60 million at auction. Here's a rare sighting of the tadpole shrimp, a prehistoric creature that has existed on Earth for more than 500 million years. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, there's a rare breed of dog that has two noses. They were likely bred and brought there by Spanish conquistadors back in the 16th century. Costing around $300 per pound, A5 olive Wagyu beef is quite literally the rarest steak in the world. It's extremely rare to see a living giant squid, but in 2015, one swam into a harbor near Tokyo. A diver jumped in and swam alongside it to capture some incredible footage of the massive creature. During World War II, Native American man Joe Medicine Crow completed all 4 feats required to become a war chief: touching an enemy without killing him, taking an enemy's weapon from him, leading a war party, and stealing an enemy horse. He overachieved on the last one by stealing 50 horses from the Nazi SS, singing a traditional Crow honor song as he rode off. In 1941, a Polish soldier named Witold Pilecki volunteered to be placed in a concentration camp to prove to the Allies that the Holocaust was real. While a prisoner at Auschwitz, he organized resistance movements and eventually escaped after 3 years of imprisonment. Until he escaped, little had been known by the rest of the world about how the Germans ran the camps, as they were thought to be internment camps or large prisons rather than death camps. While filming the first Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt stole his Star-Lord costumes from the set. He did this so that he could wear them to visit sick children in the hospital if the film happened to be a hit. Following the 9/11 attacks, the Maasai tribe from Kenya donated 14 cows to the United States. It was the highest regard of sympathy they could have offered, since they view cows as incredibly sacred. A Syrian man with Down syndrome named Jad Issa not only had a child with his wife, but also raised him to become a doctor. In the Netherlands, sex is recognized as a right that everyone should enjoy. Citizens with disabilities even receive government money to pay for sexual services up to 12 times per year. The program is called Hookers for the Handicapped. When Sharon Osbourne was sick in bed with cancer and giving up, Ozzy asked Robin Williams to come visit her. Robin randomly hopped in her sick bed, and her family instantly went from crying to laughing hysterically. Robin cheered her up so much that she went back to chemo the very next day. When Superman actor Christopher Reeve was left paralyzed after a horse riding accident, Robin Williams was one of the first people to visit him in the hospital. He came in dressed as a doctor and told Reeve he was there to give him a rectal exam, causing him to laugh for the first time in weeks. When Robin Williams first met Coco the gorilla in 2001, he made her smile for the first time in 6 months. When Robin died in 2014, Coco overheard the news and said the word cry in sign language. While filming for The Grinch, the thick makeup and prosthetics made Jim Carrey feel like he was buried alive each day. It became so brutal for him that they had to hire a former CIA agent to teach him techniques for coping with torture. The Grinch as a kid was played by an 18-year-old actor with dwarfism who sadly died from heart failure just 2 years after the movie released. Many of the indoor scenes in the movie Elf were shot inside an abandoned mental asylum in Canada called Riverview Hospital. All of the characters in Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas were inspired by hallucinations he had during a fever that nearly killed him. South Park's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh originated from when Trey Parker was potty training at age 4. His father would tell him that if he didn't flush his Mr. Hanky down the toilet, it would come to life and kill him in his sleep. This Norwegian building that looks like it has legs was used in the 18th century to store grains. It was propped up with wooden platforms to protect the grain from water damage and pests. Uncombable hair syndrome is an extremely rare condition that literally makes the hair impossible to comb. It currently affects less than 100 people across the globe. In 1960, David Latimer planted a garden inside of a giant glass bottle and opened it just once to water it in 1972. Amazingly, this self-contained ecosystem continues to flourish more than 50 years later. This rare Australian Wagyu tomahawk is making my tummy growl as we speak. In 1986, Romanian sewer workers accidentally stumbled upon a cave that had been sealed off for over 5 million years. The alien-like ecosystem is based completely on chemosynthesis and is home to more than 30 species that can't be found anywhere else on Earth. The shaman of Bad Durenberg was a middle-aged woman who was buried around 9,000 years ago in what is now central Germany. Believed to have been a person of great prestige, she was buried with an extraordinary headdress that was made from the bones and teeth of various animals such as deer, cranes, turtles, and wild boar. This incredible video shows archaeologists opening an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus in front of a crowd of people. The coffin contained the body of an ancient priest and had been sealed for over 2,500 years up until this point. In 2020, a massive canvas filled with thousands of Ice Age drawings was found in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. The incredible artwork includes handprints, geometric designs, and a wide array of extinct animals. It spans for nearly 8 miles, and some of the drawings are estimated to be up to 12,600 years old. Tourists on the water in Norway were taking photographs of a friendly beluga whale when a girl suddenly dropped her iPhone in the water. That's when the whale miraculously dove back down and managed to retrieve the phone in its mouth. Here's a video of a green heron that learned how to catch fish using bread that was given to it by tourists. The bird is even smart enough to pull the bread back when the larger fish approach. There's a gorilla at Calgary Zoo that can dance. Dance! And finally, in 2019, a pet cat from Colombia was caught on camera saving the life of a 1-year-old boy. The toddler had escaped from his crib and was crawling towards a flight of 12 stairs before the cat sprang to action and redirected him. In 2005, a wild gorilla in the remote Congolese forest was seen using a stick to test the water depth of a swamp. She was then observed using it as a walking stick to help her cross the body of water, making her the first documented case of a wild gorilla seen using tools. This absolute gentleman of a grizzly bear was videotaped fixing a traffic cone before continuing on his way. What a good guy. In the early 2000s, a man who suffered multiple strokes tried to teach his cat how to dial 911. Unsure if the training stuck, one day the man fell from his wheelchair during a seizure. Police received a silent call from the house and arrived to find the man incapacitated with no one around except his cat. Just last year, archaeologists in Lima, Peru came across a mummy that was bound in ropes in an underground tomb. It's estimated to be up to 1,200 years old, as rope binding was a typical part of the local funeral process around that time. This is one of the 3 ancient Roman pools of Gafsa located in Tunisia, 2 of which are open to the public. Built in the 2nd century BC, the pool is about 15 feet deep and is naturally heated by hot water springs. When you put together the buttons of a World War II Royal Air Force uniform, they turn into a mini compass. The amazing feature was made to be used by troops that were shot down behind enemy lines. During an excavation project at Stirling Castle in Scotland, a grey leather ball was found behind some paneling in a bedroom that belonged to Queen Mary Stuart. Estimated to be over 450 years old, it's said to be the oldest soccer ball in the world. In 1969, when African American citizens were forbidden from swimming in pools with white people, Mr. Rogers invited a black police officer to come dip his feet in a pool with him, breaking a well-known color barrier. Mr. Rogers personally responded to every fan letter he ever received. A 5-year-old blind girl once asked if he could say when he's feeding the fish because she was worried about them starving. From that point on, every time he fed the fish, he said it out loud. In the 1980s, a little girl named Beth was suffering from over 100 seizures per day and was about to have half her brain removed in a major surgery. So her mother requested a note from Mr. Rogers just to assure the little girl that she'd be okay. When Mr. Rogers heard about this, he flew to visit her in the hospital and even brought his puppets to cheer her up. Beth survived the surgery and stayed close with Mr. Rogers until his death. After having his leg amputated due to cancer, 21-year-old Terry Fox started running across Canada to raise money for cancer research. Every day he ran a full marathon for 143 straight days until his cancer worsened, forcing him to stop. He ran a total of 3,338 miles, and his fundraiser has helped raise more than $600 million to date. Ludmila Pavlichenko, the most successful female sniper in history, struggled to pull the trigger on her first few kills. But that all changed when she saw a German soldier shoot a young Russian boy. She said, "He was such a nice, happy boy. After that, nothing could stop me." She went on to record 309 confirmed kills against the Nazis. During World War II, American Private Edward Ahrens was found clutching a sword surrounded by 13 dead Japanese soldiers. Clinging on to life, his last words were, "I guess they didn't know I was a Marine."